How was everybody's weekend? It's me, your pal, Jason Louv, welcoming you back to our regularly scheduled stream. We've got a lot to talk about today, and this one's gonna be from the heart. I haven't scripted anything. Ooh. It's me, your pal, Jason Louv, welcoming you back. One second. To our regularly scheduled stream. I'm hearing myself. Talk about today. And this is gonna be one second. From the heart. I haven't scripted anything. Ooh. Why is this happening? Okay. All right. My apologies. Welcome back, everyone. So, your life is in your hands, and in this episode, I'm going to be talking about not just where we're at, but how you, as a conscious, feeling, moral, ethical, individual actor can handle a situation of complete chaos. And if there's one thing that I want to remind you, I'm going to be going at this several ways, but if there's one thing that I want to tell you today and that I want you to take away, it's that your life is in your hands. Even in a situation of total and absolute global chaos and uncertainty, you still have total control over your life. Not only do you have total control over your life, you have responsibility over your life and responsibility for your actions, your decisions, your words, your thoughts, and your deeds. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Of course, please please subscribe. We just got to 35.2K subscribers to this stream, and we're up lots more on the Discord, so please join the Discord as well. Like and subscribe, and tell your friends and enemies about this channel. Okay, so let me start off this way. James Joyce once said, "History is a nightmare from which I am trying to escape." History is a nightmare from which I am trying to escape. In Ulysses. And it was that specific quote at the age of 17 that really, really, really pushed me in the direction of magic, meditation, and frankly, any art, anything that I could find to approach the real, the true, and the good, rather than the slaughter bench that we see all around us. As Nietzsche said, history is a slaughter bench. So right now, where are we at? I'm recording this Monday, September 15th. Charlie Kirk was murdered in cold blood, and whether one agrees with Charlie Kirk or not, it doesn't matter. Because over the last 72 hours, 96 hours, we have seen people being absolute monsters. You don't need me to repeat any of this, but even a brief look at Twitter, and not just Twitter, but the utterances of politicians, media figures, journalists, the mainstream, have been celebrating the murder of a man of God. Now, I'm not an evangelical, and I don't share Charlie Kirk's spiritual tradition, but I know a man of faith when I see one. And the person that Charlie Kirk was, he would not have gone out and done what he had done if he had not held deep spiritual conviction and faith in what he was doing. And to say that I have been disturbed, disheartened, not quite made despondent, but at times close, by the atmosphere in our country right now and the atmosphere in our world would be an understatement. And I'm guessing you probably feel the same. Now, we are entering a period of chaos and uncertainty and madness. We're entering a time where Not only are there no adults in the room, which has been the case for quite some time, but people are choosing evil. And I refuse to say less about it than that. It is what it is, and let's call it what it is. People are choosing evil. They're choosing to celebrate murder. They're choosing to laugh at a man, the widow and children of a 31-year-old man. They're choosing to basically dance around with blood and intestines hanging off themselves, in so many words. And I am not the type of spiritual teacher who will bullshit you. I'm not the type of spiritual teacher that believes that language creates everything and that everything is subjective and whatever feels good is what goes. Good and evil are real. Good and evil are not necessarily tied to political ideas. And whatever one's politics, I would hope, whether left or right, I would hope that you can see evil when you can recognize evil when you see it. And to so wantonly celebrate the death of a living, thinking, feeling, and acting human being. And what's more than that, to incite more violence, is evil. So when COVID hit, let's say around the first month or so, after I had removed myself and my loved ones to a position of some safety, I sat down and I mapped out everything that I thought would occur over the coming year. And unfortunately, I got just about every single one of them right. The last two, everything occurred. Rioting, military in the street, all of that. And unfortunately, the last two that I predicted were Civil War and World War. Now, we've had World War for the last couple of years. And whether you call it a world war or not, it doesn't matter. We've had Ukraine, we've had Israel, we've had all of this. And in America, we have had a cold civil war. As of the murder of Charlie Kirk, at the very least, this country is divorced. We have two groups of people who do not see eye to eye at all. They have nothing in common. And depending on how people act now, we could very easily enter a hot civil war. Now, I don't want that. You should not want that. Nobody should want that. Because what civil war means is innocent people being hurt and killed. And it means destruction, and it means waste, and it means setback, and it means loss of human creative effort and loss of human life. None of these are acceptable outcomes. Whatever one's politics, once the bullets start flying, everyone loses. Now, I'm not going to sit here on both sides it, because at least in my way of thinking, one side of the aisle, the left side, is behaving monstrously, hypocritically, is gaslighting, is lying, is attempting to spin reality as they always have. But at this point, they've spun reality so many times that they're spinning down a drain, and they've gaslit so much that their balloon is about to burst. And I don't think they realize that. So, how can I approach this? This isn't going to be a political talk. I'm not going to be taking sides in this, although I've just let you know how I feel about it. This is a talk about you. So let me tell you this. As a spiritual person, you don't have to participate. That's the good news. If you imagine the situation as spiraling down a drain, just remember there's a whole lot of water out there, and no one says you have to go down the drain with everyone else. So I won't sugarcoat this. Things are going to get bad. Things are going to get very bad. They very likely are going to get bad personally for you. Certainly in the sense that people that you thought were friends, maybe even family, may not be in your life anymore. You may not be able to see eye to eye with people that you've trusted in the past at all anymore. You may find that people that you thought were rational, good people are murderous. And whether or not things turn into something as dramatic as a ground war, which they could, and frankly, at this point, given the world situation, we see the march in England, we see tensions going to a boiling point all over the world. It will be more than America. And, if the Civil War, the 19th century Civil War, was a fight between the North and the South, the 21st century Civil War could at the very least be, let's say, a battle between the northern and southern parts of the Western Hemisphere. Canada's involved, Mexico's involved. And of course, Europe is very, very intimately tied to all of this. They had a march of millions of people, potentially. It was reported at 110,000, but it could have easily been more, millions, on the right in the UK. And part of that became mourning the death of Charlie Kirk, who it turns out meant a whole lot to a whole lot of people. Yesterday I got on Twitter and I saw people like Destiny laughing and chortling to the high heavens that Charlie Kirk's wife posted a picture of her crying on her husband's hands and body in a casket, and that she tagged her husband. And for some reason, in his account, to Destiny, this was the most hilarious thing. Soulless. I saw that, but I also saw a video of teenagers in Highland Park in Chicago, which is a really, really rough neighborhood, out on the steps of a church, singing and praising God in Charlie Kirk's honor in the middle of the night. And in a way that no one could look at and say that this was not, the Holy Spirit was not there. So in times like this, humanity will show its best and its worst. And another bit of good news is, in times like this, it's unmistakable. So what I want to impress upon you is, again, your life is in your hands. Again, you don't have to participate in this. And in fact, there's a side that you can choose that will benefit everyone, and that's your own side. Now, by that, I do not mean to be selfish, to be solipsistic, to check out. What I mean by that is none of us can predict what's going to happen next. Really, it's anyone's guess. This is a moment much like 9/11, October 7th. It's a moment, or perhaps the assassinations in the 60s. It's a moment where not only has a horrible, horrible thing happened, but it is of such a deep level that it is derailing everyone's plans they had for the future. So whatever plans you have for the future, whatever you visualize the future to be, it's probably not going to be that. And so, something to bear in mind. This is why there's so much stress. Now, interestingly enough, one of the most fascinating things about this is that people have been, at least in our community, have been reporting the same thing. When it happened, they all felt nauseous. They felt physically nauseous. People are talking about in the chat here the anxiety, the feeling of tension in the air. I feel that too. We feel that too. I think anyone who is sensitive feels that. And of course, people who are interested in magic, I don't need to tell you, are particularly sensitive to things like this often. So right now, these psychic airwaves, if you will, and yes, that is a real thing, are very, very bad. Very, very bad. Right now, the psychic airwaves are simply chaotic. And it's not a time to... Let me put it this way. If you engage directly in the psychic airwaves right now, you're quite likely to get shredded. So if I was to have practical things to say to people, number one, and I know this is going to be obvious, but that's what I'm here for, to remind you to be... One of the jobs of a spiritual teacher is to be Captain Obvious, and to remind you of the things that we all know, but that we all forget under stress, right? So this is a stressful moment. So number one is meditation, okay? Why is meditation so important right now? Meditation is important, one, for checking out of the psychic war that is going on upstairs and all around us. That's toxic, and it can be very, very dangerous to your mental health. Last night, after absorbing 4 days of horrible tweets, I couldn't even move. You know, I was feeling crushed, you know, and it wasn't because of anything happening specifically in my life. It was because of the energy that's flying around. So what I am telling you is choose your own side. And that means choose the following things, not just meditation. Meditation is a good way to disentangle yourself, but choose the following things. Remember the following things. Number one, be a leader. Be a leader. What does being a leader mean? Being a leader means setting an example. Right now, we're surrounded by some of the most childish, ridiculous, murderous, and horrible individuals I've seen in my lifetime. And I don't know if they were just lurking and waiting to reveal their poison, or they've been pushed this way by the internet. But being a leader means embodying what you want the world to be like. Being a leader is setting an example. Now, that example could be for people online. That example could be for your immediate family members. It could be for your friends. It could be for people that you just pass on the street. But this is a time more than ever for you to get very, very clear about what is good and what a good life is, and how you can embody that and show that to other people as an option, not to proselytize, not to shout over people and tell them what to think and feel, but to embody what you believe a responsible adult should be in the 21st century. And I know you know what that is, and you have lots of thoughts about that, if you really think deep down. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter how degenerate the world is. It can't cover that over totally. You can be the example. You really can. And that's what people need right now. They need people who are calm, who can embody virtue, who can remind people to create, not destroy. Because let me tell you something else. In a time of mob mentality and mob rule, you are still responsible for your actions. So just because a mob online is cheering, and jeering at political murder, the type of political murder that led to World War I, the type of political murder that killed the 60s, the type of political murder that has changed the fate of entire nations like India and America. There is nothing moral or good about celebrating political murder. It's wrong. It's wrong. And I'm not going to sugarcoat that. The type of things that Destiny held, the type of things that Chris Cuomo are saying, like, he was hateful. No, he wasn't. He was hateful, so he deserved it. That's wrong. And you don't have to be Christian to see that. Wrong is wrong. It doesn't matter what your spiritual tradition is. But in times of mob mentality, you're still responsible for what you do when you get swept up in that mob. And you will be held responsible, and you will be judged based on what you do during this time. Joining a mob does not absolve you of the consequences of your actions. Quite the opposite, in fact. What joining a mob does is accelerate the consequences of your actions so bad that if you take an evil action, the outcome will be much more destructive than it would have been if it had just been you. So you're even more culpable now. You're even more responsible for your actions. And what the world needs right now is people who are willing to take responsibility, at the very least, for their own lives. And that means not pointing the finger. It means not blaming. It means embodying what you want the world to be, understanding that no one's going to do it for you. No one's going to come save you. The world is not fair. But sometimes it can be just if you do your part. So, if you will, you'll permit me, in honor of Charlie Kirk, out of respect for him and his spiritual tradition, let me read the very first psalm of the Book of Psalms, which is, of course, one of the greatest books of magic, if not the best book of magical invocations ever written. And this is the original King James Version. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. Now that's simply a statement of objective fact. If you have allergies to religious language, then think of it not literally, but think of it as a statement of fact, right? Let's look. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. Don't surround yourself with vile poisonous, hateful people, whether online or in real life. Because who you surround yourself with is who you will become. Nor standeth in the way of sinners. What is sin? We all know what sin is. We all know. We all know what evil is. We know what good and evil are. All that you can do is convince yourself otherwise. Nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Now, the scornful, how relevant is that? I don't care whether you're somebody throwing a Molotov cocktail or chortling, now for some reason Emmy-winning Stephen Colbert. Scorning and laughing at the death of a good person, or the death of anyone for that matter, is shameful. It's shameful. These people should be ashamed of themselves. Truly, truly. When you know what it feels like when poison leaves your mouth. And Christ said, you will not be damned by that which goes into your mouth, but that which comes out. Meaning it doesn't matter what your diet is, but it does matter what you say to the people around you. Because by the same mouth can things be created or destroyed. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and in his law doth he meditate day and night. What is the law of the Lord? It depends on how you look at it. Of course, if you are a capital C Christian, then it's very self-explanatory. But in the same place, we could say the Tao. We could say Dharma, if we want to look at it through Hinduism or Buddhism. Or we could say your true will, if you're a Thelemite, right? And the true will is a more important concept than ever for you right now. All that the world does is throw happenings at us, like it's happening, the meme. All the world does is throw chaos and panic and violence and all of that. And if you pay attention to that your whole life, pretty soon you're going to realize your life's gone. And you know what? You probably came into life with a plan of what you were going to do with it, but now it's too late because you got caught up. And so if you think of the world as or the culture war as a rapid river rapids. If you do not exert any effort on turning your life into what you want it to be, if you don't make any effort into becoming the captain of your fate, then you'll go down, you'll be washed away in that river just like everyone else, smashed on the rocks of meaningless gibberish. But that's not the only option available to you. You can swim the other way. You can try to swim upstream, or hell, you can even get onto shore if you try. But if you don't try, you'll end up in the same place that everyone else ends up, which is nowhere. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water. He shall be like a tree of life. He shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, not in the river, not being swept downstream, but growing, individuating, becoming who you were meant to be. And that's not selfish, because by doing that, you provide not just an example, but shade for others. You provide fruit for others. And it says here, and he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that bringeth forth his fruit in his season. Your fruit in your season. Important. Not all the fruit in the world, not something better than the next guy, but your fruit in your season, meaning the fruit that your life was always meant to bear on the timeline it was meant to happen. Right? So don't rush, and it's never too early and it's never too late. Everyone has their own timeline. As sometimes that can be frustrating, but it can also be comforting. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Yes, because it is done creatively and for the good of others, not destructively, not just burning things down. Who is moral? The religious artist who, creates a Renaissance artist who created a beautiful Renaissance painting out of the depth of their faith, or some person who comes around and throws soup on it, right? The ungodly are not so, but are like the chaff which the wind driveth away. So, same metaphor. Here today, gone tomorrow, completely forgotten, it never mattered, never was there. If you put your life into if you throw your life in with the destroyers of life, life will be destroyed for you. Your life will be destroyed. There will be no memory of you. There will be no trace of you. And you'll be swept down that river with everyone else. Therefore the ungodly shall not stand in the judgment, nor sinners in the congregation of the righteous. So again, you don't have to look at that through Christian language. You can look at it, think of it as the Sangha if you're Buddhist, the Illuminati if you're a wizardly type. But simply, think about the people in your life that you really love, that you really care about, that are examples to you. Those are the people you want to sit with. Those are the people that you want to be with. Those are the people that you want to be in the light. You want to be among the sane and noble and good, simple good, basic good, and I'm not talking about ostentatiously good. I'm not talking about people who want to make the world understand how great they are, like Bono or Joel Osteen or somebody like this. I mean simple, good people. People who make a habitual pattern of choosing good rather than destruction and evil. Those are the people you want to be with. And it is so easy to be exiled from that, to be exiled from grace, to be exiled from light, to be cut off from good and truth. And that is done only by you and your own actions. Nobody will cut you from good other than yourself, or nobody will take you from the light other than yourself. It's completely up to you. It's your life. It's your life. It doesn't matter what the external circumstances are. You always have a choice. You always have a choice. For the Lord knoweth the way of the righteous, but the way of the ungodly shall perish. That's simple. How many people do you think are going to remember destiny in 5 years, let alone in 50 years? How many people do you think are going to remember Charlie Kirk? Quite a few. Quite a few. Quite a few. So, morals are important. Ethics are important. Doing the right thing is important. Are we ever going to come to absolute certainty about... Are we ever going, in most cases, are we ever going to come to a place of absolute moral and ethical certainty? No. But that does not absolve you of the need to try, right? Because at the end of the day, what is moral and what is ethical is what is good is to make the effort. Knowing that you'll fall short because you're a human being, just like all of us, knowing that the ideal, you're never going to get it perfect, but doing your best and trying and letting reality, let me say that, let your moral and ethical and spiritual effort in the direction of the good and the positive be what shapes your reality, not the language games that the left think are so effective. No language game can take the place of character. And no language game or sneaky Gavin Newsom NLP trick is ever going to have the same effect on reality as simply your own developed character. And it is the spiritual path, whether it's Christianity, Buddhism, Magick, whatever it happens to be, the most powerful thing that you can do to shape your reality is to develop and deepen and concretize your character. And that's done, over a long period of time, and it's done through adversity and hard decisions and painful decisions. But no one can take it from you. And when you cultivate good character, when you cultivate leadership, when you cultivate choosing creation over destruction, it cuts a karmic groove into reality that that is very hard to move you from. It etches into reality what your path is and must be. Whereas to behave chaotically, destructively, demonically, simply leaves you, chaff for the wind. And there's a whole lot of demonism these days. And by that, I mean you see a lot of these people, let's not pretend otherwise. We see a lot of ththese people on let's say the anarchist side of things, all over the Goetia. They love Goetia. Curse Trump with the Goetia. Just the lowest level of consciousness. In the Vedic scriptures, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, and thankfully we're not in the Kali Yuga, we're moving out of the Kali Yuga, but there's still quite a lot of Kali Yuga condition all over, that in the darkest, the Iron Age, in the lowest point of human consciousness, development of human consciousness, the only spirituality that people will have will be the worship of demons. People will no longer worship God. They will not believe in anything, but they will believe in demons. And they will worship demons, and that is all they will be fit to worship, much like they will only be able to drink dirty water and eat garbage and worship demons. Well, take a look around, particularly on the so-called progressive side. There's a lot of that. And that's evil. I'm sorry. It's evil. And you see these evil actions bear evil fruit. And we have to call it for what it is. So how can you be the example? How can you be a leader? Well, of course, you can disentangle yourself. First of all, you reclaim your agency. Reclaim your agency, to stop doom scrolling, at least for a day, and remember that you're in charge of your life. Because particularly in times like this, where everyone wants to enlist you and enroll you in their mob scheme, it's at times like this more than ever that you must, it is incumbent upon you to not get sucked up by the crowd. We can mention lots of times in history. And at this point, by the way, I don't think it's hyperbolic to compare some of what we're seeing to Nazi Germany. It's not hyperbolic. It usually is. But there's one point that I want to make on that, which is if you look at, this is going to rustle some jimmies, but if you look at the people who actually resisted the Holocaust, who actually resisted Hitler, they had a whole hell of a lot more in common with Charlie Kirk than they do with the so-called left right now. Case in point, Dietrich Bonhoeffer is a Protestant theologian who was one of the primary resistors of the massacre of Jews. Right? Christians. Right? Christians were often the ones who were resisting Hitler. Communists, sure, but most of them were looking for opportunities for street violence, and in many ways they were none the better, particularly under Stalin. In many cases, worse even, which if you can imagine. So there's no morality there. But the people that are currently running around being pro-Hamas, putting up posters of Charlie Kirk being shot, defacing murals of Charlie Kirk, saying the type of things that people are saying online, those are the people who will go along with the killing. And they've made it clear. They made it perfectly clear. You don't need to infer. And people like Charlie Kirk are much, much closer. Much, much closer to the people that actually resisted the Holocaust. Yep, I know it's going to rustle jimmies. Look it up. Look up Dietrich Bonhoeffer. True story. So how can you create? Now, a lot of you are artists. Art is great. This is a great time for art. Art can remind us who we are as human beings. It can remind us of what our deepest values are. It can bring us out of the river of happenings and get us in touch with something else, with, at the very least, the most important values that you should have. Art is critical. Business. A lot of you are entrepreneurs or work in business. Let me tell you, in a situation where the political authorities have just, there's not a whole lot of adults in the room, business is more important than ever, because business leaders can often have sufficient capital and willpower and skill to create things that can really help. And that could be a mom and pop food cart business, or it could be a multinational corporation. So in times like this, a political instability, business can provide stability. It really can. You'll notice I'm not a communist. Healing. A lot of people are if you work in healing professions, body work, things like that. I know a lot of people are probably maybe life coaches, things like that, or provide that type of healing services. That's really important. Just remember that you can't heal everyone, and don't lose your boundaries. And things are really toxic right now, so pace yourself. But that's an excellent way to be a leader. And at the end of the day, being whoever you are, being calm and stable and reliable. That's pretty important. Even that, especially that, here's a magic trick, right? Be the calm and reliable person in the room, and reality will come to you. Because that's what people need now more than ever. And there's not going to be, and again, not to sugarcoat it, there's not going to be a whole lot of cooler heads prevailing. Not for a while. So that's basically what I have to do. That's basically what I have to say. And remember this. No matter how much the world changes, the structures of magic, spirituality, mysticism, they don't change at all. The Tao is always the Tao. Kabbalah is always Kabbalah. Meditation always works. Yoga is always good for you. Prayer is always good for you. And this might be a good time to think about things like prayer, because in a time when, let's be honest, it's hard to trust anything. Everything's propaganda. Everyone's got an agenda. People are outright lying in large groups. People are happy to lie. We have large groups of people for who getting the other side is far more important than any other consideration. We have people who have been convinced that the other side is an existential evil, like it's somehow Galactus from the Fantastic Four, and that anything possible to stop it is justifiable, even murder. You don't want any part of that. And so if you're confused, here's a guide for the perplexed. If you're confused and you don't know what's going on in the world and you don't know who to trust, it's because you can't trust anyone. If you don't know who to trust, It's because you can't trust anyone, because human beings are inherently untrustworthy and will always let you down. This is one of life's bitter truths, but the sooner you accept it, the easier your life will become. Until you learn to put your trust and faith in whatever you want to call it, God, the divine, the universe, the holy guardian angel, whatever you want to call it, until you learn to put your trust in God, every single human being will let you down, betray you, and disappoint you horribly. And that's a good thing, because it's God telling you not to worship idols. It's God telling you, don't set your sights so low. Don't put your faith in a human being, a politician or a leader of some type. Put your faith in God, because humans are fallible. We're processes that, we get a few maybe good years of being conscious, and then it's done. So, and human beings are inherently, they're inherently weak. They're made of flesh. They have all kinds of, there's all kinds of things required to keep them alive and functional, let alone to get a human being into a positive and helpful state of mind. So human beings are all inherently self-oriented to some degree or another, because they have to be. And human beings will let you down every single time until you learn to put your trust in God. And I'm not saying follow one path or another, but I am saying you might want to consider grabbing onto that life preserver. Okay. So that's basically what I have to say about that. So I'm going to look at questions, but of course, I want to remind you, I know this is short timing, but it's important, and it's actually, I think, on the right timing. We do have a course coming up. Oh, the Equinox Working, which is a 3-day event, live and online, this Saturday to Monday, where we are going to do a series of magical rituals as a group in order to basically banish that which does not serve us, and banish the crap of the last several months, and invoke the future. And it's going to be an incredibly powerful and transformative experience. I'm not going to give you a whole sales pitch here, but I will say that the early bird tickets are already gone, so it's selling quickly. And the video, that video, I'm not going to do it, is on this channel. So if you go to the video section of this YouTube, you can see the full description of the event. So as you can see, we've only got 4 days left until it starts, 4 days and change. So you can check that out at equinox.magick.me, or just go to the first video on the video page on this page, not the live, but the recorded videos. So definitely check that out. Okay, let's take a look at questions. And I'm not going to read thank you to everyone who super chatted. I will definitely respond to super chats. And I will, otherwise I'm just going to kind of look for things that pop out to me. All right. Yeah. Lots of very, very positive comments. Yeah. Might I, the Swank, says the real demon is the inability to look at our demons. Yeah. Yeah. We're going to be doing a lot of shadow work, by the way, in this. Temple is actually going to be leading some shadow work sessions in the Equinox event. But yeah, it's a little glib to say, although true, to say the greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing people he didn't exist. But we live in a time in which people, for whatever reason, seem to truly think that there is no structure to reality, that there is no God, that there is no good or evil. There is only language and social construction and all that other nonsense pushed on us by people like Foucault the pedophile. And I mean, look, I lived in Los Angeles for 11 years. Believe me, there's a lot of lost people out there. who are happy to participate in any evil you could imagine just to get ahead or just for their own jollies. And that has an effect. Choosing evil has an effect not just on you, but on everyone around you. Black Cat 939393 says, ugh, I've never prayed. Well, how can you be a Thelemite otherwise? I mean, Thelema is part of the Judeo-Christian tradition, You're gonna try all the other traditions except Christianity? I'm not pushing Christianity here. I'm just saying, like, we need to be realistic that these are actual spiritual traditions that are part of the spiritual fabric of America that we need to have respect for. Crunk Monkey says, after talking to a friend who's deeply mourning Kirk, I can understand how he perceives the man as having the same conversational mission as myself, but Kirk clearly had different motives than me. Charlie Kirk meant a whole lot more to a whole lot more people than certainly anyone on the left recognizes or recognized. And one of the things that you need to realize is Charlie Kirk wasn't just Charlie Kirk. He was a symbol of basically standard American evangelicals, right? Who just want to basically do their thing and go to church and all of that. So when you kill the nice guy, when you kill the person who basically is simply just a stand-in or exemplar of basically half the country, you're sending the message that you want half the country dead. And that is exactly how it is being taken. Thank you for all the positive comments. Yeah, there's a lot of comments. Interesting. Okay, here's a good one. Christopher White says, there's no intensity of love or feeling that does not involve the risk of crippling hurt. It is a duty to take this risk, to love and feel without defense or reserve. Very well put. And this is in many ways the wager that spiritual people must take, right? Life hurts. Being open to life hurts. Opening your heart and other such phrases, those all hurt. Being empathetic hurts. And simply getting out of your shell and participating in life hurts. But the alternative is basically bed death. It's dying slowly in your bed. Or as I've now seen, there's a new trend with Zoomers called bed rotting, which is when you just don't get out of bed all day. You wake up, you get on your phone, you start doom scrolling, and that's that, basically. Life's a risk. There's nothing guaranteed. You already got here, which is one of the hardest things to do in the universe. Live. JNCL says, nothing is hyperbolic anymore. We're in a post-hyperbolic age. The craziest thing you can say is kind of true anymore. Yeah. Solu Momti says, I feel like we just all shouldn't choose a side. The whole thing for me is against evil and good. This is a very popular opinion in the occult world. I will say this. Everyone who's ever severely fucked me over in life has said something like there's no evil or good shortly before doing it. Yes, there are evil and good. And by the way, when Nietzsche said God is dead, he was lamenting that because he knew that the West would have nothing to replace God with. And that would end up basically where we are now, in a world of nihilism and despair. And that's not like a cool goth coffee shop version of nihilism, it's this. Okay. All right, let me make sure I get to the super chats. Christina Van Valkenburg, thank you so much for the super chat. Just a thanks to you and Temple. Temple also has my great thanks. Your sensibility is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Your comments really do make a difference. That's what we do this for. So thank you. Tony says, thank you for speaking what we are all thinking right now. Well, that's a great compliment. Thank you. Last days will be lawless, become strong. Yeah, be strong. Be strong. Pray to be strong. Strong, by the way, strong doesn't mean your aggression. It really doesn't. Strong means that you can be calm and that you can be a leader and that you can be somebody that other people can count on in situations like this, right? In situations where they need somebody. That's what being strong is. Okay, we have another super chat. Thank you so much, Tyler, for the super chat. Greatly appreciated. It's a great compliment. It really counts a lot. It really helps. Not just, and when people super chat, it's not just the money, right? It's not. I'm not begging for change here, but it is it's a message to us that you value what we do and that you're gonna buy us a drink. And it's the respect that is shown that means a lot to me. Okay. All right, everyone. So Avalon Mist says, there are all types of magic to help us get through hard times. That's right. I mean, think of just the stuff you have in your toolkit. We've all got different practices. But there's so much you can do. Meditation, prayer, ritual magic. There's so much. Oswald Spengler, interesting name, says, any thoughts re Kirk and Zionism? Yeah, I'm a Zionist. Oh, the anathema. Oh, the horror. I think that Charlie Kirk was a very good voice on Israel. There's another case of mass. Right now we're in a global hurricane of shadow projection. Thank you so much, Kisa. Greatly appreciated. Right now we're in a global...
Rain Appreciator sent you a super chat. I don't know if you saw it.
We have another super chat from Rain Appreciator?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't see it in the chat, but thank you, Rain Appreciator. I've been informed by Temple that you super chatted as well. It didn't pop up on mine. Thank you so much. In times of hurricanes of global shadow projection, it's always, for whatever reason, it's always Jews that get blamed for everything, and that is very apparent right now. And let me just say this, okay? The same people that are jumping up and down with glee, thank you so much, Lucas. That's very generous of you. All the same people that are jumping up and down with glee at the death of Charlie Kirk are also celebrating Hamas, saying by any means necessary with Hamas, decolonize by any means necessary. Our two Jewish staffers were shot in D.C. Jewish shop windows are being broken. Europe right now is telling Israel that the only way they can participate in Eurovision is if they use a blank flag instead of their own. How is that any different than forcing Jews to wear stars of David in the Holocaust? Europe hasn't changed at all. So I am very much on the side of Israel, and this situation could slide so quickly. Just ask yourself this. If these people are willing to murder their political opponents and jump for joy about it, if they're willing to back terrorists who rape, murder, and maim, and they see that as somehow justified because whatever, insert post-colonial nonsense here, how do you think they will feel about you if given half a chance? Okay, so Rain Appreciator, thank you for restating this. Rain Appreciator asks if it's a good idea to abstain from weed and porn. Definitely abstain from porn. The more we learn about porn, the more we realize that it rewires the chemistry of your brain. It's exploitative. It's deeply engaged in human trafficking. There really is no ethical way to consume pornography. There's no ethical way to do it. In terms of weed, hey, whatever gets you through, it helps. It can help depending on who you are. So nothing against that for me. I'm known to partake myself from time to time, and by time to time I mean multiple times a day. But don't emulate me. The downside of weed, of course, is it will mentally dull you. Yeah. So my response is no porn, weed, as you will. Okay. So, and then last, somebody whose name I can't repeat says, not everyone is referring to all Jews when they're critical of Israel. I don't believe that anymore. I think that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. And I think for the people who are going around talking about Zionists, saying Zionist is now just the okay way to be anti-Jewish. And that's not acceptable. We can't have that. We can't have that. Okay. Conspiracy of Everything says, came across your channel a few days ago and became a fan when you called out the Love and Lighters because you can't just love light everything away. Yeah, I say this and get told, my vibe is just off, bro. Lol. Yes, well. Rain Appreciator says, thank you, that helps. Yeah, I think that's yeah. Smoke them if you got them, but stay off that internet porn. The worst thing about internet porn is I will say this, a lot of the problems in the world right now are caused by it, because what internet porn has trained people to do is to see other human beings as disposable objects to be used and then destroyed and hated. And the effect of that on the soul of the world is so bad and so evil that people simply refuse to look at it. Because it's an oil slick that is so huge. I mean, you think about places like, Pornhub or whatever. It's like, this is like fracking. It's like they're industrial, like fracking, like oil. It's like they're treating human beings like a resource or like factory farming. I think that the porn industry should be seen neck and neck with factory farming. It's a terrible thing. And, yeah. So, and we need to be clear about these things. But yeah, as far as weed goes, hey, it can be very helpful. All right. That's going to be it for me. I hope this was helpful, and I'm very, very grateful for everyone who super chatted. I will do my best to continue streaming this week, but we're prepping the course, the Equinox working, and Temple and I are working really, really hard on it. And so we got to make sure that we get all that down. So make sure to grab your spot while you still can. You've only got 4 days left, and we will see you there. It's gonna be a tremendous, tremendous weekend. We're gonna be. It's going to be very, very, very emotionally healthy. I'll put it that way. So, without getting into hyperbole and going off, we're going to be doing a lot of magic and all that. But outside of, giving like my sorcerer sales pitch, I will say, in term particularly with how things are going right now, if you just want to reset, if you want to smack the cobwebs out of your brain and get laser focused on what you need to do in your life with an actual plan, this is where you want to go. If you've already taken classes at Magick.me, like Adept Initiative, people have been asking, how is this different from Adept Initiative or the other ones? This isn't going to be a class teaching you magic. We're not teaching you magic in this course, right? That's for other courses. This is a ritual. This is a specific, time-bound, connected to astrological events, in this case, the equinox as well as others. It is a specific ritual to get a specific effect. And the specific effect is to do the same thing that cultures all over the world have been doing in equinox rituals, whether that's, ancient Mesoamerican or modern Thelemic or whatever it happens to be, which is to celebrate and emulate the passing of the light into darkness and then being reborn. And for those of you who know ceremonial magic a bit better, it's a example of the IAO formula of Isis, Apophis, Osiris, or thesis, antithesis, synthesis. It is the way to that we will be doing shadow work. It's not love. It's not all love and light, right? It's not all positive thinking and woo. We're really going to be looking at the both sides of ourselves, the dark and the light, and causing change in conformity with will, meaning moving closer to the true will, coming out of that charged up for the next 6 months, right, of your life. All right. Thomas Smith asks, any chance of a reading to see if the equinox thing is for me? I don't have my tarot cards next to me, but I will simply tell you, and thank you very much for the super chat. If you're asking whether it's for you or not, it is. If you're here and you're wondering if you should take it, you should, because you're already here. The universe has already put you here. The universe is giving you this opportunity. You don't need to take it, of course, but this is just a one-time thing, and it will put you months ahead. And most importantly, what it will do is snap you out of the river. It will snap you out of this fugue that everyone is in, that you very likely may be in. It will clear the cobwebs and get you back on track. Or if you're already on track, laser focus you even further on your path in life so that you are the leader, so that you are in charge of your life and not this warfare. All right. Lots of love, everyone. If you want to know how to access the Equinox working, it is equinox.magic.me. Hell, I'll just make this really big. Check that out. This is where you get it. equinox.magic.me. And if you want to, the trailer is on the page. And also, if you go to this channel, this YouTube channel, the trailer is the first one at the top of the page. Okay. Do I need to have experience with magic to access? Absolutely not. No, this is going to be a guided experience. You don't need any experience in magic. In fact, you don't even need to believe in magic. You don't need, this is going to be taught both with magical language and psychological secular language. So you could be completely skeptical. That's cool. You can approach this with no interest in the supernatural side of magic at all and simply approach it as a transformational workshop. Which uses neurolinguistic programming, transformational psychology, transpersonal psychology, a lot of body work, a lot of really, really, really excellent tools, the best tools, the very best tools, ask anyone, to activate your life and your true will. All right. Lots of love, everyone, and hang in there. It's gonna be weird. All right. Take care.